All right, everybody, welcome to Smokin Gunz Podcast, Episode 1. We are here with Tony Lacusa of Scorpion Rifle Work. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you.
So, a little bit about the Smokin Gunz Podcast. Here at Smokin Gunz Customs, we are mainly a Cerakote shop that specializes, we're a Type 7 manufacturer, and we specialize in Cerakote application. Cerakote is a small ceramic, is a thin ceramic coating that goes on firearms, and Tony is actually Smokin Gunz Customs' first commercial account. So we Cerakote pretty much all of Scorpion Rifle Works firearms.
No, all of firearms.
All of Scorpion Rifle Works firearms. So we're going to talk with Tony just a little bit, kind of go over a little bit about his experience in the firearms business. We'll start off with a joke that I heard that is hilarious. What's the fastest way to become a billionaire in the firearms business? Or a millionaire in the firearms business? Start off a billionaire.
Yeah, you are exactly right.
That is the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
So what got you started in the firearms, like not in the firearms business, what got you started in firearms culture? Like what was your first experience with firearms? Did you grow up with guns?
Yeah, I pretty much grew up. I grew up upstate New York, so it was,
Gotcha.
we were hunting at 12 years old, sitting in a tree stand. I'd been around guns my whole life. Mainly, rifles, shotguns, hunting guns. So that's what introduced me to it. Obviously, you grow up and you take that with you as a grown up, and you get into handguns and other things. So that's pretty much how I was introduced to firearms. Let's put it that way.
And so grew up upstate New York. Grew up there until high school.
Yeah, I hate the cold, so right after college, straight out of college, I knew my father lived here, so it was off to Florida, pack everything in the car and off to Florida. So
hell yeah. And so you said that was when you were 18?
20-ish, I think, straight out of college. So
I think I came back to Florida. I grew up, so a little background on me. I was born in Chicago, 1985. Came over here 86 with my family, fleeing gang violence and so on and so. So we came down here. I was like a baby. Stayed down here for a few years. Moved back up there briefly. Then I want to say in fourth grade, we came back down. Then I went back up there and stayed until seventh grade. Then came back down here until I was a freshman. Yep. Then I went back to Chicago again, and then I came back for the last time when I was 20. I want to say I was 19 years old because I had my 19th birthday in Chicago, and then came back down right around that time, and then been
pretty much
here
knew
ever
where
since.
You wanted to be, right?
That's
how I was,
Well, Florida. I mean, I'm a big fan of. I didn't realize how much I liked Florida until I left, and then I was like, okay, man, there's and then
January and
my family
February in Chicago, I grew up upstate New York, so we were just below Buffalo. So, if it's not snowing anywhere in the world, it's snowing right there.
Miles and miles of snow, man. That's crazy.
God awful.
I used to always I said I never envy people who live in upstate New York, anywhere on the East Coast. They get hit with those big blizzards where you see the entire house covered in snow.
I mean, we just watched the Buffalo football game there where they're digging out their seats and sitting in them. Come on, man. That's right. What are we doing?
That's right.
Yeah, straight after college, it was off to Florida, and my father lived here, so it was spring break we were in Florida,
So you spent time a lot of time down here before.
I knew where I was coming.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So, and then once you came here, was it a no-brainer to get into the firearms industry, or did you? It took some time for you to make your way.
I come from customizing, high-end cars, so that's what I did from, probably 18 on. I mean, you started in your own car at 16, so that's where I came from, and then I kind of got into, obviously I came from, bolt-action rifles and a lot of hunting stuff, so I started dabbling in the fiberglass stocks for the bolt action rifles, and that's kind of what got me started, I guess, in the gun business.
Gotcha. I have some notes here on my phone that I'm gonna open up just to keep me on track when it comes down to the next business, or when it comes down to the next questions. Me personally, man, when the way I got into the firearms business, I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know, when I came back, I was like really lost. At the time, I'd been plumbing in Chicago. I knew I didn't want to do that. I was like,
nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, well, I actually, it was out of necessity. That is what I did when I first came here, just because that's what I knew how to do in Chicago.
You gotta make money somehow, right?
And when it comes down to Chicago and like Florida, when it comes down to the laws, or not the laws, but the codes, when it comes down to like plumbing, the laws are way more relaxed down here in Florida than they are in Chicago. Right. In Chicago, I mean, like, there's so many rules and regulations when it comes down to what can go in the walls and when, because they deal with a lot harsher of a winter. And where over here, like, everything in the ground's made out of plastic. Like, it's like no
up there, your pipes are bursting every winter, and
forget about it. So when I came down here,
tough business to be in.
It is, and forget about it. And then, like, a lot of times, like, a lot of people say, well, if you're up north, you can get a union job, which is great. But a job with the union up there means, like, if you start a job, you can't leave until you finish that job. So it could definitely be a headache as well. But I came down here. I started doing that for a little bit. Due to some idiot guys that I was working with, we all ended up losing our jobs. Like the whole crew ended up getting fired. So after we got fired, I ended up finding a job at the airport. Worked there for a little while. And it was, like, the most stressful job for literally minimum wage. Like, it was.
Yeah. What were you doing at the airport?
I was just cleaning airplanes.
Oh,
and like,
my God.
So I'm like one of those guys, like, whenever I go into like a job, I tend to excel, right? Like I'm a hard worker, and I set myself apart most of the time from like anybody else. And you got to be a tough working group of guys for me not
different
to
kind of work ethic. That's what that is.
Definitely.
For sure.
So when it came down to, like, you know, working at that place, I got like a raise after raise and promotion after promotion. Like within like 3 months, I had already had like 4 raises and 4 promotions, just because they kept finding out like different ways that I could work. But it was like starting off, it was minimum wage, high pressure, like. This plane's landing, we got to go clean that plane, and this plane is delayed, which means that this plane's going to land right after this plane lands, and that plane needs to leave before this one. So it just got to the point where I was like, man, I found myself every night I would come home and I would just search like firearms online. I still knew nothing about them. I was like 20 years old, like 19, probably about to be 20. And I knew nothing about guns, and I just would search them up online like crazy.
I don't think we knew much at that age.
Much about anything. But so then I told myself, man, I said, if I'm going to get up and go to a job every day, it's going to be something that I like to do. So I said, let me just find something in this business. So I would sit there with this is back in the day where I don't even know if they still do this. When people remember they used to come and throw a big phone book in front of your house, and then like you had everybody's in the city's phone number in that one phone book. So I would just take that phone book and just go to Firearms and just go straight down and just
good for you.
Call every single person.
That's pretty awesome.
Finally, right around the corner from actually where we're at right now, there was a place off of 436 called Al's Army Navy Store, and they were like, yeah, we're hiring. I was like, I'm on my way. I went and filled out an application. Did a drug test, got the job. I was like in there the next week, and just working for them. It was like, and again, I knew nothing to start off. I learned most of what I learned. Yeah, exactly. I learned most of what I learned from customers. Customers who would come in, they would ask me questions. If I wouldn't know the answer, I would just look it up and then learn how to. Somebody took apart a gun, and I said, "Well, show me how to do that again." And they showed me how to do it. So I was like, "Cool, now I know how to take apart this gun." And then I would just, just stay open. And that's pretty much where I got like all of my knowledge from, was like trial and error. Like I didn't have the luxury of like, I didn't join the military. I didn't have a dad that was like, here's this pump action shotgun and how you take apart an 870. I learned the first time I ever took apart, well, actually I didn't take it apart. First time I ever put back together a Mossberg 500 was a customer that came into the store and was like, hey, let me see that shotgun. Took it all apart. Couldn't get it back together. So I showed up to work and they're like,
we love that. We love that deal. I got a bag of parts here for you.
Exactly.
Great.
Nowadays, man, you can sell me a bag of gun parts. Just don't even tell me what it is. And I will make it something by the time, we're done.
I love those people. This gun's broken. I don't want to get rid of it. Give me it.
Yeah, give it here. Nah, I just speak that language.
No, that's kind of, I was wrong guns my whole life, but, I never took them apart. You know, my dad was the one that sighted it in. You know, I didn't do any of that. You know, I sat in a tree stand and shot a deer with it. You know, that was as far as it went for.
How old were you when you took your first deer?
Bow hunting, I was 14. First day of bow season and hit him, and then big deer was probably I think I was probably 16 by then. So,
nice.
Yeah.
So let me tell you how much of a hunter I am not. One year was my nephew's, my little cousin. It was his birthday. So I went early in the morning. I said, man, I'm going to buy this kid a slingshot. I think he was like turning like 8 or 9 or something, like perfect slingshot age. And I was like, man, I've never seen him with a slingshot in his back pocket. I'm buying him a Dennis the Menace today.
Oh,
so
for sure.
I went to Walmart, found them, and I was like, they were like $12. I was like, I'm going to get 2. I'm going to get him one. I'm going to get me one. Mm-hmm. So I gave him one for his birthday, and I kept one for myself. And the next morning, I wake up, and I was like, at the time I smoked cigarettes, so I went outside to smoke my morning cigarette, and I lived in a guest house of this property that my sister used to live on. So there was probably about a 35-yard distance between the guest house, like right where I would sit in the morning on a little bench outside of my apartment, and the front, like there was a tree in the front gate. It was about 35 yards between here and there. And I came out and I saw this squirrel. I was like, oh, squirrel.
Oh, no.
I was like, you are so dead.
Yep.
And I pulled that thing back and I let it go. As soon as I let it go, it became very obvious that I was about to kill this squirrel. Like and the feeling overkill. Like if I could have reached out and grabbed that rock, I would. I swear to God. I was like,
oh no!
The rock hit. If it could have gave the squirrel a haircut, it did. Like it was like that, like in the cartoon where it gives him like just a shave down the middle, right above his head, just missed him. That motherfucker jumped up in the air about 3 feet and then just took off.
Gone.
Oh man! And I was like, oh
so
my God.
So happy you didn't kill it.
Thank God. I felt so bad. The first time that I successfully went hunting was a friend of mine had a trip bought for him for his birthday, and I took my AK out and I shot a pig from a pretty good distance. Yeah. So,
there's a lot of pig hunting down here. They love that.
I'll shoot the hell out of a pig.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll shoot a squirrel now too. Like now I feel like I'm.
That's what's funny. People are down here. Oh, we don't deer hunt. We pig hunt. I'm like, yeah, because they're like dogs.
Dogs over here.
Well, I'm from upstate New York where they eat fields of corn and they're 250 pounds. They're just monsters.
16-point butts.
You don't even want to stand in front of one, let alone meet one.
How long did it take you when you moved down to Florida before you started Scorpion Rifle Works?
Oh, years and years.
Years and years. So what led to you starting Scorpion Rifle Works? Were you just like building guns on your own?
I mean, of course, I probably had to be 30 before I even got my first AR. And then, coming from the custom car aspect of it, I loved the customization of the AR. Once I had my own, it was like, all right, how can I take it apart? What can I do to it?
Yes.
What parts can I what different parts? And of course, you waste a fortune doing it,
But by the time you're done, you have another rifle.
Absolutely, you have your new rifle and a bunch of other parts laying around, so you have to start another one.
That's right.
So that kind of got me into it. At the aspect of creating one myself was a big deal. I went so much into. You talking about the design of the actual upper and lower that you have? Yeah. Now that was actually going to be my next question is tell me a little bit about that process and how that all went down. Because so when you started off making your own rifles, you were just customizing builders kits or rifles that you had already purchased, complete rifles. Yep. Taking parts off, putting other parts on. Yep. And then, of course, I knew it, inside and out by then. I knew every part on it. And now, did that transition into you going straight into designing your own uppers and lowers, or did you just start like building for other people? No, I really didn't do the whole building for other people, aspect of it. A little bit of gunsmithing here and there for my friends and stuff, with their ARs or their pistols or whatever. I just knew, like you pretty much know, you take them apart a couple times, you pretty much know them. So, you can work on them and fix problems. But, you know, the big part of it for me was the design. You know, I want my own design. I want that upper and lower to be, you know, something that came out of my brain.
So tell me about that. How'd you get that going?
So that came about, I guess, you know, the whole COVID, you know, started right around then, you know, sitting around the house, not being able to do shit. So it ended up being a piece of paper, you know. So I traced I want to say I can't remember what manufacturer it was, but traced the outline of an upper and a lower on a graph piece of paper, and, you know, went to town on it.
Start drawing lines.
That's it.
I want this line to go here.
I want this line to go there. I want that line to go there. And, you know, I still have it framed, you know, in the shop. So,
badass.
And that's kind of how it started.
So it was that easy. Once you had it on paper, you just took it to a guy, showed it to him, and he hammered it out for you out of a block of aluminum.
Yeah.
No. That ain't the way it works.
That's when the work began.
After the design was done, that's when the work began.
I had it all on paper and thought, I just, you know, find a CAD drawer and find somebody to cut it out.
Yeah.
This will be easy. I want to say it was probably a year and a half before I had prototype in my hand.
Wow.
And it's how many 3D CAD drawers do you know?
Yeah, me zero.
You don't.
Me zero.
I
yeah.
don't either. So, you know, your first deal is finding a CAD drawer that can even remotely go, yeah, I'll take this on.
Yeah, I know what I'm looking at here.
Right. Yeah. Yep. I know what I'm looking at. I know, you know, and the way it happened for me, you know, I got online and tried to find a CAD drawer and ended up finding a kid out of UCF, you know, that was in school for CAD drawing, and he drew CAD for, you know, since he was 13.
Nice.
So he knew exactly what he was doing, and he was able to take it on. So he ended up taking it on, and of course it's not, you know, you give him the piece of paper and he draws it for you and it's okay. It's, you know, sitting night after night, you know, on the computer, video chatting with him to make, you know, well, this line's not going to work right. Let's try this line. And, you know, that doesn't look like it was supposed to. And so it was, you know, months.
Man, just to think, like about a year and a half after you've already designed something, that takes so much focus.
Yeah.
For it to just keep on
not
with that
go,
same
okay,
energy.
I'm done with this.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm going to go on to something else.
Yeah.
Let me think harder about that promotion.
And that was just the CAD drawer.
Yeah.
So, you know, by the time I got done with the CAD drawing, you know, it was, now you go on to finding, you know, that CNC guy that's going to, you know, that has an FFL or, you know, the number 7 manufacturing FFL that's able to take it on. And there ain't a lot of those guys out there, I can tell you that right now.
And because basically you're going to somebody else who's probably in the business of doing what you're doing, probably in the process of doing what you're doing, and asking him to help you compete with him, basically.
At first, I wasn't doing that. I was going to guys that were doing kind of other stuff, you know, not particularly cutting out firearms.
Yeah.
You know, I was, you know, like, again, you get on the internet and you start calling phone numbers, you know, can you help me out? Can you help me out? And
those cold calls.
Yep. Man. It's one after another.
That's how we met. I cold called you.
Yep. Absolutely. It was. At the right time, too.
Yeah, at the right time, man. Yep. Sometimes that's it. As I tell my wife, because I do that a lot, man. I'll sit here and I take so if you go online and you search, like, you know, FFLs, you can find a downloadable list that'll give you all the FFLs in your state, along with, you know, names, addresses, stuff like this. So, and the type of FFL that they have as well. So for people who don't know, you can have an FFL from type 1 to type 7. Type 1 is just your regular basic FFL that you need to start like a gun range or a regular gun store. You need a type 2 if you're doing anything with pawn. Type 7 basically means that you're a manufacturer. And everything in between, there's a bunch of stuff in between. But that type 7 allows you to do a lot of this work. And what I'm looking for specifically, because I need guys that are doing exactly what you're doing and need somebody to put a coating on their thing. Now, the thing about Cerakote, good thing for me that I took the time to really learn the process of how to do it, because a lot of these companies they want to do it themselves. And they find out very fast it is not a user-friendly product. You know, it's like something you definitely have to learn the process, and you have to kind of stick to it. And it's a mess. I mean, just like having a sandblasting cabinet alone. Forget about it. It's taking over my shop. I'm like fist fighting with my sandblasting cabinet every day. If it's working perfectly, my shop's a mess. If it doesn't work at all, then I'm not doing business. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's definitely a pain. But I'll sit here with that FFL list and I'll look up Type 7 manufacturers. I look up their, like what area that they're in, and then I look up their website. And if they look like, you know, they're halfway decent or they need a Cerakoter, I'll put in a call. Sometimes if they don't look halfway decent, I'll still put in a call just to introduce myself. Hey, this is who I am and this is what I do. And, you know, if you're ever looking for something, let me know, you know. And you know, sometimes it's worked out. I hear no way more than I hear yes. That is
a lot of that
for sure.
But it's getting your name out there because that guy's gonna tell so and so. Oh, I had that guy call me the other day. You know, so
even if they just go and look up my website, you know, it's everything helps. Everything helps.
That was a whole nother aspect of this company is the website.
So when it comes down to your own personal collection, do you have any other ARs other than Scorpion Rifle Works, or do you have like just?
Oh sure, I don't. Yeah. I think I have one Scorpion in the bunch of them. So usually, I mean, one's right behind you there. That's actually my personal 300 Blackout.
That's a beautiful gun, man.
You know, you see, it's another Scorpion.
Yeah. What tack light is that? That's a Streamlight.
That's Streamlight Pro Tac. Yep.
Pro Tac. Badass, man. Badass SLR handguard. Shout out to SLR. Make great stuff. Are you ever thinking about do you do any other products other than like AR? Because I know you got the handguards, you got the pistol grips, which are like awesome. They're beautiful looking, and I'm seeing them everywhere. I was on a Facebook group the other day. It was
I just saw it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I'm like, hey, that's my grip.
Yeah, AR-15 builders group or something like that on Facebook. And I saw a group on there as well. I was like, oh man, he's getting everywhere. So you do the handguards, you do the pistol grips, and the uppers, lowers, buffer tubes. Are you planning on coming out with any other products, like maybe an AR-10? Do you plan on branching out to other platforms at all?
I think the AR-10 is going to be in the work probably within this year, if not, beginning of next year. We're working on our bolt carrier groups right now, so that should be, a Scorpion bolt carrier DLC bolt carrier group would be coming out, and we're working on an adjustable gas block now. So
nice. Now I can imagine.
So that's in the works here, and that's I love that part of the gun. You can adjust the gas out, you can adjust the buffer, make it run the way you want it to run. That was a big thing about the way the guns are built is, I went to a few competitions and watched those guys run those guns going, why does that, my first gun was like a Bushmaster or something, it was a turd, you know what I mean? But, you go out and watch these guys run these competitions with those guns. You're just like, why does that gun shoot like that?
Why is it so loud?
That was a big deal of me getting into this. I wanted my guns to shoot that way. Yeah. When the customer gets them, they're just like, what is this? This is a whole different animal.
They do. They definitely do shoot that way, because when it came down to that one Scorpion Rifle Works that I built personally, I ended up selling that. It's pretty much almost a replica of this one, except it came with a 7-color camo job. But I sold that gun for $3,000, and that gun had no recoil on it at all. Off of your recommendation, like everything that you walked me through it step by step. This is the piece that you want to get here. The only thing that I didn't do that I should have done, and I kind of went poverty route. I didn't go the poverty route. Okay, I got.
Sometimes you gotta cut corners, man. It gets expensive.
Just a regular nickel boron, bolt carrier group, which was not bad, but I definitely should have went with something lightweight. Now that I'm looking at, like everything, that was like the one thing when I was shooting it. It didn't have it had no recoil, but it did have a little bump, and like I would see the red dot just kind of move a little bit, and I realized at that point, like, if I wanted to
coming
take
back
that
on target, that's That, you know, it can bump, but as long as she falls back on target, that's what you're looking for.
That was a bullet hose, man. Like, I've never been able to shoot a gun that fast. I've never, like, had a gun that felt like that. Like, you know, and it was amazing.
I love the aspect of it. That's what you know, the way they're built is to kind of to those specs. Obviously, you know, when we're cutting receivers, that was a big thing too, is, you know, you start cutting receivers and then realize, you know, that tolerances are off, or tolerances aren't what you want them to be. You know, we got, obviously, you know, this receiver, you know, how many receivers don't jiggle together when you put them together? Like, you can barely pull apart. So, you know, you go in and fix those tolerances, and if you don't have somebody that this is what they do, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, forget about it.
So I was lucky enough to find somebody that's all they did was cut receivers out.
Yeah.
So, you know, he was able to go, hey, you know, call me on the phone going, hey, I'm programming the machine and this tolerance is off. Or else, you know, you're standing here holding a $5,000 paperweight.
And we're not talking about the CAD guy. We're talking about the machinist.
We're talking about the machinist.
Yeah.
That catches the CAD guys going, hey, this isn't right. You know, I cut these every day. This, you know, you're off, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're off here and you're off here.
100,000.
Yeah. So when you get your prototype, it doesn't work. You just spent $5,000 on a paperweight. So Jesus. I was lucky enough, and that's a big thing about the, you know, starting a company like this. Yeah. If you can minimize those expensive mistakes, that's what keeps you going.
Yeah.
You know that it's. You know, if you waste $10,000, you're deterred real quick, and especially when you're funding it yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, it deters you very fast.
Very fast. Yeah, man. Business is one thing, man, but if you're not prepared to go into business financially, it's always an uphill fight. It can beat you up real quick, and especially in the gun business.
You know, in the gun business, I you know, there were parts of it. You know, finding a bank account.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who thought that it was going to take me a month to find a bank account? You know what I mean? Luckily, I had, you know, guys that were in the industry that I could, you know, shoot ideas off of, or, you know, hey, you know, where do you bank at? You know what I mean? Just stupid little questions like that.
Yeah.
You know, and then when you start, you know, and the website came about because, you know, of the parts that we put in the gun. You know, I wanted, you know, obviously, you know, being, you know, part of the gun community, you go to those websites, and I spent hours upon hours, you know, buying parts off websites. So I'm like, you know, that I want to build, you know, the Scorpion website that has the parts that go in the gun. Places.
And ScorpionRifleworks.com, if you're looking for AR parts, that's the place to go. That is the place to go. Man, I got, like, my e-commerce is mostly set up for, like, firearms, pistols, things of that nature, but I definitely need to add, if nothing else, the pistol grips to my website, man, because those things are
we do pretty good with those.
Yeah. So it's safe to say that an AK handguard is probably about 3-4 years out.
It's not even.
It's not even.
Not even on the radar. So.
Yeah, because a Scorpion AK, man. I tell you what, I'd be into it, man. So, besides that, it will bring me to my next question. Besides the AR platform, is there any other platforms that you're fond of?
Obviously, the AR-10. You know, we're gonna go. The AR-9 is probably in the works down the road somewhere. Obviously, they're becoming pretty big.
Very popular at the
very
moment.
popular. So, you know, that's gonna have to come into the works pretty soon.
Well, what about you personally? So you love the AR platform. The AR platform is Scorpion Rifle Works, highly custom. But if you could have one other rifle and it could not be a stoner derivative, what would you get?
It would be probably SLR.
Probably SLR, like
those guys. I mean, obviously they're right here next to us. I work with them pretty closely. But you know, if you're talking about, you know, that top tier rifle and SLR's not in that category, you're
not paying attention.
Yeah, you're not paying attention. They're, you know, they're manufactured. You know, obviously you can buy one of their handguards, and if you've ever gone to their website, you know, they're they're handguard kings.
Yeah,
and you get one and you know why.
Oh yeah,
I
got an SLR on my AK on my M70 and went out.
And they AKs, 1911 stuff. They do a lot of stuff other than, and their receiver sets are
amazing,
second to none.
Yeah,
their quality control there is impeccable.
Yeah, they're like a small team, right? Like a small group of guys.
Yep.
Like I want to say when I bought my handguard, I called and got the owner on the phone like right away.
I see him every time I stop there to pick up parts.
Yeah,
so, Yep, they're good guys there, and their stuff is definitely incredible.
Yeah, they make good stuff.
Their handguards. I tell people, if you're looking for AR parts, you look for that guy that's all they do. If that's all they do, they're probably damn good at it.
Yeah, definitely,
so,
definitely.
If you're looking for AR parts, especially with muzzle brakes, if they just make muzzle brakes, they got it down. Yeah. They know what they're doing.
Definitely. Small fact, small tidbit. Actually, SLR gets all their stuff Cerakoted in this same plaza by another Cerakoder.
And they have great
Cerakoder.
All their laser stuff is done with
the same
guys that do ours.
Stuff,
they're good guys.
Yeah, great guys, great products.
If that was the, obviously I own multiples, but one of my favorite guns for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. SLR makes great stuff.
And as for I'm a 1911 fan.
You were telling me about the Prodigy, right? You just recently went with the Prodigy over a higher end staccato or something like that.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Kind of went down that avenue of, seeing people having problems with them, and of course, I bought a Prodigy and didn't even shoot it, just ripped it apart. So
right away, of course,
and put all the right stuff in it and made it run, the best that. Runs like a real high end.
You got to. So. I had a guy call the other day asking for some parts, and that if I knew anybody who would install them, I was like, yeah, I'll install it. He's like, you install 1911 parts? I'm like, yeah, I got you, bro. Like, bring them by. I got the.
Know the platform real well.
One of the best jokes, because every time when you shop for 1911 parts, everything is dropping, or you have to fit this. They'll tell you.
It's not real 1911 if it's that way.
They tell you it's a drop-in part. I asked a really good gunsmith I used to work with a long time ago. I said, hey, well, this part says it's a drop-in part. And he goes, it's only drop-in if you drop it in from high enough.
It drops in with a hammer. Exactly.
It's like nothing on a 1911 is drop-in, guaranteed. Like we were just talking about.
If you're not comfortable filing stuff, you better put that 1911 away.
Yeah, forget it. If you don't have a good set of files, tools, any brands or places that you like getting your tools from, as opposed to?
Well, I come from the audio, the car part of it, so it's mostly Snap-on and Mako. And I like to waste a lot of money on tools, basically.
Yeah, I'm like always on Brownells, and Midway is like.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they don't have your vices and your gun, the particular gun stuff. But most of the screwdrivers and torques and all the little stuff you need. But with the punches and stuff, you just got to find what works for you. You know what I mean? One
of the best set of punches that I ever bought. I'm a big proponent of the saying, buy once, cry once. I got a $80 set of punches. That's like 6 or 7 of them in like a little small container.
Yep.
And they're Starrett punches, and Starrett, like they make the best punches. I couldn't tell you how many times I've purchased. I couldn't tell you how many sets of punches I've had to buy, or not even just buy, like in a moment where I needed them, had to leave and run to Home Depot to go grab that one size or buy a whole set because I need that one size, and then I bring it, and in that same job it breaks. So
you will rip through some punches.
Yeah, very fast. So,
I mean, Wheeler makes good all for the gun community and gunsmithing. Obviously,
they make my favorite
go-to for sure.
They make my favorite screwdriver set.
Yep,
I use their screwdriver set all the time, 10 times a day. If I'm looking for something and I can't find oh man, I got this screwdriver set specifically for this job. Probably in the Wheeler set.
Yeah.
So
sure.
Definitely.
No, I obviously have a lot of tools around the shop, so it's a mix of Snap-on, Mako, and Wheeler, and you know, have more screwdrivers than you can ever use, but maybe one day you might need it. So.
You know what? That might be a good idea. Start like a gunsmithing type Snap-on truck, just with gunsmithing tools.
Good idea.
Yeah, man. Those guys, those mechanic guys, they'll come by and be like, "Hey, man,
expensive, boy.
Here's this financing plan here. You want to get like $10,000 worth of tools? Forget it. I need that
$20
guy.
a week.
Yeah,
for the rest of your life.
For the rest of life, I need that guy. I need the Snap-on gunsmith guy to come by right now.
For sure.
Definitely. Yeah, man. When it comes down to tools, man, I'm like constantly looking for like this always some little part that does one specific job.
Little tweezers, little screwdrivers. You know, they're essential. I have multiples of them.
Me and my wife are constantly in an argument when it comes down to like any endeavor that I embark on. I always look and I say, what am I going to need for this? And then it always like ends with like...
You're always missing a tool, aren't you?
Yeah, it's like a huge like shopping list and big credit card bill. And we're like, all right, yeah, we're going to get all this stuff. And as soon as it comes, I'm like, oh man, did you see this new tool that they... She's like, I thought we had everything we need. I'm like, yeah, well...
You never have everything.
Never have everything.
Ever.
There's always something new. Bring something new out onto the market. When
and
it comes
of course
down to
with
guns.
you, it's, you know, big air compressors and lines and... You know, it's stuff I really don't have to deal with, you know what I mean?
A bunch of shit I never wanted to know about.
Yep.
Never wanted to know about. I'm an expert when it comes down to dry air. Never wanted to know about that shit. Yeah. It's just a bunch of crazy stuff. Me personally, getting into the gun business and being in the gun business, I've become a student of firearm history, right? And I tend to study a lot of these like old time gun designers, people like Gaston Glock, you know, Dr. Eugene Stoner, Mikhail Klishnikov, and the hands down number one guy, in my opinion, John Moses Browning, the prophet, blessed be his name, has like always been like my favorite gun designer. Do you have like a favorite gun designer or somebody that you've kind of...
Not particularly.
Not particularly.
You know, the history of it, you know, I don't really get into... Man, obviously we have, you know, the Glock guy, you know, obviously he just died.
Just passed away, Gaston Glock, rest in peace.
And, you know, he was that's a big name.
Yeah, that guy was...
Those are big shoes to fill.
he was the man, man. We think about like the way he revolutionized the gun business.
I don't care if you're a Glock fan or not. Those are big shoes to fill.
Huge. Yeah, he definitely revolutionized the business more than... I would say more than any gun designer since John Moses Browning.
100%.
When you look at like when he started off making a polymer frame gun, he wasn't the first one to do it. H&K had one before. I want to say even Walther might have done something with some polymer stuff. But Gaston Glock made it so where every company since has had to do it. Like, so you look at like all the big names, like SIG made their bones way before Glock ever did. But now their number one seller is a polymer frame gun. Springfield, every company out there has a polymer frame. You have to make one. You have to. There's no other way. And if it wasn't for Gaston Glock, one of the coolest things that I found out about while I was researching him and his history is when he started, he got the idea from, he was in a hallway with some generals in passing, and they were talking about how the stipulations for the new Austrian handgun were too heavy, and that no gun designer was ever going to be able to develop something to meet all of these strict necessities. So he was like, well, what are the necessities? And as the guys were telling him, he's pretty much designing the gun in his head. But he said when he started testing it, he tested with his left hand because he figured if the gun blew up in his hand, he would still have his right hand to use to write and design with. And I was like, that's what, like, in the business world, what people call like eating your own dog food, right? Like when you make, like, I'm pretty sure that first Scorpion, you know, upper and lower that you put together.
You don't look down the rail and pull the trigger. Let's put it that way.
You know, put that sucker right up to your cheek.
That prototype, you do one of these.
That is funny.
There are definitely many times at the range where you're just
and
pull the trigger.
Just that like process to embark on is just like it's you know, time old, you know, it's the oldest time. People have been doing it forever.
Yeah.
But it is just like, and I have ideas and things that I want to put together. But definitely, I'm like, man, I need to wait until the right time. I don't need to wait until the right time. I just need to start designing.
You gotta
stuff.
do it. Yeah. It's a journey for sure. It was fun, and it's you know, it was a lot of work. It was a lot more work than I thought. A lot more money than you can anticipate.
Forget about it.
You know, and even with the website, you know, everything on the website is in stock and ready to ship. So that's a whole different deal.
That's nuts to think about.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff on your website.
You know, if you order something off our website, within 24 hours it's shipped to you. It's in the mail. You don't wait 2 weeks and go, I wonder where my part is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That baby goes out, it's packed that night and in the mail.
Man.
You know, so everything, you know, if you buy something off the website, it's in stock and ready to go. So I have to have all that inventory on top of, you know, building rifles. So
on top of building the rifles, and then on top of, not just when somebody just orders like an ambidextrous mag release, or when somebody orders a rifle with this bolt, this mag release, and then piecing it all together.
And then there's another aspect of that. You know, you're building a rifle for somebody, and you pull the last one off the shelf. Guess what? You're like, I got to take that out of inventory on the website. You know, so if somebody's not going to order it, now I got to wait. You know, that guy's got to wait a month or a week or however long to get the part.
You got to send that Eating Crow email. Hey man, sorry.
You know, as I was, you know, younger days, you know, you order a part and you're so excited to get it because you saved up the money to get it, and you know it doesn't show up for 2 months. You know that we don't deal with that.
That's awesome.
We don't let people, you know, our customers don't deal with that.
That's awesome.
They order something and it's on the way.
I purchased for my AK when I bought it. The AK that I built was like the first real custom gun that I like put together from like in my mind. I had the gun built years before I ever, you know, bought the gun, and it was like I bought the gun like literally the day that COVID hit. Like I bought the gun so close to the deadline of like when things really got crazy. The rifle that I bought was $750. I bought it the next day. It was $1,400.
Oh, wow!
From the same seller, like literally the next day. I called him back because I had bought it, and when right after I bought it, I had, you know, he was like, okay, you know, I'll ship it out. Tell me whatever FFL. I said no problem. You know, I gave him the FFL, and then I started looking, and I was like, oh man! I called him back the next day. I was like, hey man, you have any more? He was like, yeah, I have 3 more. And I was like, oh man, I want another one. And he was like, you're $1,400.
Double the price.
$1,400. I was like, Jesus, man. So, but I built that gun, SLR handguard. But the point that I'm trying to make is I bought a Tango Down foregrip for it. The foregrip that like I said, the rifle was already built in my mind. I knew where it was gonna go on the rifle, but I just needed that one part. And I went online, 1,000 reputable places to have it. One place had it like $12 cheaper. I was like, cheapest, get it. And I waited.
That is a huge mistake.
I waited. I forget what the company's name was. Some company out of Northern Illinois. And yeah, I'm talking like maybe 4 or 5 emails and a month and a half later before the thing even shipped. So it was definitely a pain in the ass to sit there and think about like, where is it? And it was just one little handguard.
One little part, and you couldn't wait to get it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all I needed.
You know, if people are ordering gun parts, they're sitting there waiting for it. You know?
Oh, definitely.
I ordered a lot of parts that I needed to finish a gun, you know, for a friend or whatever, and you know, sat around going, sorry, it hasn't come in yet, you know.
Yeah.
But our customers don't deal with that. It's you order it on and it's out. It's in the mail and to you as fast as possible. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. What do you carry on a regular day-to-day basis? Do you I mean, obviously you carry a gun.
I carry a Kimber Kimber 45 Ultra 1911.
Nice. 1911 single stack, double stack?
Yep, single stack.
Single stack?
Yep, sure.
45?
Yep.
Can't beat it.
A little bit of stopping power, you know. Only holds 8, but you better get it done with 8. So
that's right.
That's it. That's what I carry every day.
I'm a big fan of the 1911 platform. I carried a 1911 for like a long time. But yeah, my go-to is a Glock 23 that I carry on a regular basis. But right now, to be honest, I haven't carried that Glock 23 in some time just because I have a Hellcat Pro that's been very comfortable.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing. It's got to be comfortable.
Yeah.
If I'm going to carry it all the time, it's got to be comfortable.
Nowadays, I got a SIG P365 that the only reason I carry it in my pocket on a regular basis nowadays, most days, just because I recently re-Cerakoted it and I love the Cerakote job. So it's like, all right, every time I was just looking at it, which is that it's funny, man. It's like before I used to look at people like if somebody had like a Cerakoted something, or especially like a Glock, that was my least favorite gun to see Cerakoted because I was like a Glock's like, it's that block and it's supposed to be like, if you could pick your Glock out of a lineup, I felt like you were doing it wrong. But nowadays, like if I'm carrying something and it's not custom in some type of way, I'm like,
yeah, I mean, look at the guns behind you. That's how it has to be. I got a black gun, but that's only because it sits beside the bed.
This is a beautiful black though. That definitely looks like it matches.
For sure.
I had a guy call me today about an AR pistol that he wants to redo, and he's got his handguard and upper one color, his lower is a completely different color. Pistol
that's hard to do nowadays.
Yeah.
That's really hard to do.
Oh, forget about it. And like I tell people all the time, just because you put it together, don't make it a build.
No.
Right?
No.
That's one thing that's like, here at Smokin Gunz Customs, I build all types of custom stuff. Somebody wants a custom AR.
Yeah.
We will do the same thing, especially if you guys want a Scorpion. Call me up for Scorpion Rifle Works. I have some of this stuff in stock. So let me know. If you want that build, I'll build it for you.
And if you don't, we can get it here real quick.
Quick. Yeah, it's nothing but a phone call and a quick drive. So we're in constant contact. People, a lot of times they'll, have a build or they'll come and try to sell me something. And they'll say, here's my AR. It's fully customized. And I'm looking and I'm like, man, it's got some aftermarket parts on it. Doesn't make it a custom gun.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times,
just because you bought a complete lower and a complete upper doesn't make it a build. So,
does not make it a build. And a lot of times, even if you do put it together with a lot of custom parts, it's still probably not going to run right. So you definitely, it definitely takes. I remember the first time that this was like in the beginning of like the build your own AR age, where everybody started putting all this stuff together. I had a friend of mine, and he was like, "Man, I want to put this gun together. I got about $600." I was like, it's not the way you want to go about it. Meanwhile, we're working at a gun range and we're getting parts at cost. We're getting everything at cost. Guns, parts, everything. And I'm telling them, I'm like, you want to spend a little bit more than $600. Maybe about $1,000 if we're looking at, paying the wholesale cost on stuff. About $1,000 to get you a decent AR. Yep. And he was like, no, I'm going to build it this way. And he built it. Gun didn't work. Started from, I had to stop and sit back and say, okay, what do I have that's working and what's not working and why is it not working? I had to go about rebuilding the whole thing. So it was definitely.
When I started doing it, there was a lot of that too. You bought a lot of parts that went right into the drawer.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of money making mistakes.
Yes.
And if you just buy that right part and spend a little bit more money, you don't waste that money in the beginning.
Yeah. Buy once, cry once.
Yeah, exactly.
It definitely puts you in a better spot.
Yep.
Definitely. Zombie apocalypse gun. If the world was ending again, if the world ended again tomorrow, what would be your go-to weapon, rifle, handgun? You could only have one.
Only have one. Yeah, well, hopefully it doesn't, but it'd have to be a 223. I mean,
223.
Bullets are everywhere.
You can find them anywhere.
5.56, 223. You got thousands. I got thousands of them in the closet, so I'm sure a lot of people do too.
Definitely.
So that'd probably be the one I would be leaving the house with.
That definitely makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I'd have to go with my favorate platform, which is the AK, but
and again, plentiful bullets.
You can find them.
That's what you gotta have.
Actually, I think the next AR build that I do is probably gonna be a 7.62x3.9. That'd be a lot of fun.
That one behind you, that's a 6.5 Grendel, kind of the same setup. A little different barrel but kind of the same setup. So
this is one of the first ones I did for you, isn't it?
So that was one of our first
designs
of it. Yeah.
But this one's in the 5.56.
That one is,
Or 223 Wildy, I should say.
That's a 223 Wild, yep.
Yeah.
We got
precision armament break on there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wouldn't do anything else.
Shout out to those guys.
Shout out to those guys for sure. They make some awesome muzzle brakes.
Yeah, awesome. I'm about to order their hyper tap, I think it is, for this one here. Yeah,
Yep.
that's beautiful. This one I actually have the same muzzle brake on my AK.
So that muzzle brake right there, when I read up on that muzzle brake, I want to say it says like reduces 75% of recoil or something. I'm like, come on, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And they weren't lying.
You feel
that muzzle brake is pretty special.
Yeah.
I do it on a lot of guns, especially with guys that want them to shoot flat. I run that muzzle brake a lot.
It really tames the 7.62 by 39.
God, it tames, yeah.
On my AK, it feels so good, way better than night and day. And the muzzle brake that I had on it, what did I have on it before that? It started off with a regular slant brake, and then I switched that out for, I think it was like a VZ brake that I had found on like another AK, like I was on a Vishka or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Took it off, put it on mine.
Yep.
And then from there, that's when I ended up, I was ordering precision armament muzzle brakes for an AR build that I was doing. And I was like, you know what, my AK could use something new. So I went ahead and bought that.
Yep.
Bought a Hyperfire trigger for it, which I ended up taking out because of the safety. Man, that gun was so dangerous, man. It's like I'll put that thing all together, and everything's nice, put it on safety, pull the trigger, bang, man, that thing would go off, man.
Careful.
I was like, no,
Touchy.
Gotta switch that trigger right back out.
Yeah.
So, but it's just because I needed to go with their the safety that they manufacture.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, that's what's nice about, a lot of the stuff we saw on the website is in our guns. It's proven, it's out every, it's in our own guns. We go out and shoot them. We make sure, it's proven. It takes a beating.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? We put it through its paces to make sure it's right. And that's the stuff we kind of saw on the website.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're definitely an AR doctor, man, when it comes down to it. Because, I knew things needed to go together a certain way. I knew what's good and what's not. But when it came down to actually how to dial down the recoil on an AR, the way you walked me through it really worked, man.
And that's a misconception about the AR. People are like, oh, well, I can go buy an AR at the pawn shop for, $600, and it doesn't. There's no comparison. It's not the same.
There's no comparison.
It's not even the same gun.
Yeah,
realistically.
If you're looking at the difference,
it'll shoot that bullet, but it's not the same gun.
If you look at the difference between a $600 AR that you bought at a pawn shop and a Scorpion Rifle Works that you may spend $2,500, $2,600, $3,000 on, like it's huge. I have a good friend of mine. I'm not gonna mention his name just to save him the embarrassment, but he is the king. He just loves cheap stuff when it comes down to guns, and it's not just ARs. It's not just and I've given him
we all have that friend. We all have that friend.
I've given him expensive red dots, and he'll come back with some cheap Chinese red dot, and I'll be like, "What happened to that Vortex that I gave you?" And he's like, "Oh no, this one does this, and it changes its reticle," and I'm like,
It turns to green and purple and red.
Get that Wish.com shit off of your gun, man. Well, we went to the gun range. We usually go to the gun. Whenever I go to the gun range or he hears that I'm going to the gun range, he'll pack up some stuff and come and meet me at the gun range on a drop of a dime. He loves to shoot. But we were shooting the Scorpion Rifle Works that I had put together right next to his AR, and I'm sitting there like, oh,
not even
my
the same.
God. The stock trigger compared to the Timney Calvin Elite that I put in.
Not even.
Yeah, it was
there's not much that really compares to that thing anyways. So.
Oh, definitely not. Which is a great trigger, and I'm back and forth whether I should recommend it to people or not. Yes, it's a great trigger, but I don't know if you have the discipline to own this trigger.
It's very hair, and it's...
Don't drop it.
Don't. Definitely not. You want to be pointing that in a safe direction. Safe direction,
but
wherever you go.
When it comes down to precision,
the reset is unbelievable.
Crisp.
If you're talking about, building a race gun that you can shoot fast, that's the trigger. You pull... You can pull that as fast as you can possibly pull it.
I've never seen another AR trigger at the lowest, at the weight that is.
Yeah.
Which is a
And
pound
that
and a half.
resets like that. It's you can honestly pull it as fast as possible.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But a beautiful, beautiful trigger.
Love it.
All right, well, Tony, man, I think that's it, man. I think that kind of wraps up this interview.
Well, I thank you for having me.
Of course, man.
Absolutely.
Definitely. We'll
and anytime,
we'll have you on again.
Yep.
Another time.
Get some more stuff out and get some more stuff in the works. And
definitely.
Stay tuned and check out our website. And, if you want a Scorpion, obviously give you a call.
That's right.
We
That's
can
right.
have it right here.
Call me, call Tony. We'll hook you up.
Yep.
If you want any type of Cerakote pattern on your Scorpion rifle works, hit Tony up in the email. We'll work it out. Okay. Well, you let him know what you want me to do, and we'll hook you up custom completely. So
absolutely, does incredible work.
Definitely, man. Thank you so much for doing the podcast, man.
No problem.